Another episode of the Show of Love.
I'm telling you what, I was
Um,
excited for tonight. I
yeah,
mean, I may have had quite a bit of coffee today. I'm not going to lie, but I'm still very ready for tonight.
hey, I am too. You know, the neat thing about a show on a Monday is you've got an opportunity to have a day that otherwise people go, oh, Mondays. We try to make your Mondays not suck. All right. And I say that like not be a bad day. We try to make them fun. We try to say, hey, let's just have an evening with, and we have our guest.
Yeah.
And as we know, so many people that we love so dearly that are our love and light listeners that are really becoming like family. As many as you know, I call you, talk to you, I hear your story, and listen, we're friends because I believe the people out there that are the 95 percenters, the ones out there doing the investigations, investigating, going, doing, and seeing, who are not on TV, don't have some famous, talk show that they're known in Hollywood, that they are the people getting some of the most amazing evidence. And some of them even have some amazing things at their own home. And I will tell you, I love to like hear the stories and then say, we need to come visit because I believe some people have some things that hold the key to some answers into the paranormal. And this show was started by that very concept. Take what we do and what Kelly loves to do, and she's a beautiful talker. She's eloquent. She has her ways to
That was
talk.
a nice way to say that I don't shut up.
No,
Sometimes.
you do. But then with tech with me, and I just ramble, look at this and look at this. But then we married two beautiful things. And with that being said, henceforth, here comes Talking Tech Paranormal.
Yeah, and you know what? Full disclosure, buddy. Like this year, I mean, I feel more of a pull after the last few months to my paranormal family than ever before because it's like not only did that time pass where we really missed each other and we didn't get to like go do fun things. But
that's not going to happen. That's not going to be the way in 2022 because we've already got some things. We've been chatting. We've been talking. We're like, you know what? That's okay. So there's some things we think are pretty much in the can that are there, and some things that we've reached out to some people and say, hey, get us early, get us soon. Because after that, the
calendar was picking up. It seemed like the other day when I messaged you the other day, it was like literally all day. It was event notice, then message. Hey, what about this? Can you come to this? What about this? Do you want to do this? Like exciting. I was so ready for all those messages to come back. So, we lost Keith. Now you're stuck with me. But I am going to get the pleasure of bringing in our guest. So I'm so happy that he would join us tonight. And our other guests, we're thinking of you. We'll have you on another time. And we're sorry to hear of the circumstances that kept you from joining us tonight, but another time for sure. So in the meantime, I would like to bring on our tonight's guest. And he is so interesting. And we've been friends on Facebook for so long. And I look forward to actually getting to talk with him. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Ryan.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Oh, there comes Keith. Oh, we lost him. There he is. Hi, buddy. You're back.
So that happened and that happened. I don't even know what the case. So my friend, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even get a chance to do that yet.
I already did it, but I didn't do it like you do it. You didn't. You promised him the intro, so
welcome to the show, folks. Somebody I've been talking about. I've told you many, many times. There's some people in this field that, wow. And I'm going to tell you who I talked to. So I don't think very many people doubt the fact that myself and Brandon Alvis are close friends. I love Brandon dearly. He's like a brother to me. And we've had conversations. And I will tell you, our guest tonight has on a couple of them more occasions has been brought up. And I said, I'm going to tell you about Ryan. He says, no, he's a great guy. He's doing, he is doing some stuff. And we talk a lot about, it's not just about a black cap, the black shirt, going to places and going, woo. It really is about getting in there and going about things in a way that's systematic. And if it's in doubt, throw it out. If it's possible, you go one more time, you really look, and then you could have something. Ryan has been doing this for some time. I followed his work until one fine day, and I called him. I says, I got to tell you, dude, I got to introduce myself. He's like, oh, hey, Keith. And we just had a cool, very cosmic conversation. And there are people I follow in this field. And with this guy, I will tell you, I was more than happy to get the opportunity to get to know him, to learn more about him and some of his work. And so the opportunity to get to, when this show was born, he was on the lineup of several people that I said I just really wanted to get. We have some people that everybody knows I love. It's no secret. I love Michelle LeBaron. She is my sister. I've had more than some cool conversations. She's another one. And Bob Burnell, who's a dear consummate, intelligently smart man that I will tell you has picked my brain. And I'm like, you know what, Bob, I don't have the answer, but I'm going to make a phone call. That's what this show's about, folks. 95% of the people in the paranormal don't have shows, don't have radio shows. They're not out there walking the red carpet in Hollywood, but they're in the trenches making it happen. So I will tell you, without further ado,
even though you're already here,
please let Mr. Ryan, the real deal Seymour, to the show.
Thanks so much, guys. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity and kind of giving me a voice to not only just promote our page and what we do to contribute to the field, but to kind of shed light and give my perspective and opinion on a lot of the things that we do and hear and see as well. So.
And Ryan, how long have you been in the paranormal field?
Roughly 18 years, is coming up on 18 years. I have been researching since I was 17. I'm 35 now. I lived in 2 haunted homes growing up, which kind of put me on a path that I didn't know that I was ever going to take. It was bizarre. I didn't open myself up publicly until about 5 years ago with what I did, even with friends and family. I feel like I've kind of refined myself a lot within the past 4 or 5 years too. I kind of not have gotten comfortable with the way that I investigate, but I've learned ways to investigate that I benefit from more than I used to, would be the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. Do you help mainly with private cases, or do you and your team do public events?
We've done quite a bit of all. We do locations that are reported to be haunted that are public. We've done residential cases. We've had people reach out to us at historical locations, and we've done them as well. We've done sanatoriums. We've done mansions, battlefields. We've done a little bit of it all at this point.
That's awesome. And I think by going to those various locations and having all that varied experience at each one, I think not only does it lend you to kind of feel what your niche is and what you're most comfortable with as far as a location, but
absolutely
also the method of investigating too.
Absolutely. The method is completely different at almost every location we've been to, even if it's the same location twice, which kind of sounds a little redundant, but it will make sense when I explain further. When you really think about it as an investigator, when you explain how a case went when you were researching on that any given night, whether it be summer or fall or winter, no night will be exactly the same. So when we go into a location, we do a base reading, and we kind of get a general sense of where we think that we should start based off of previous experiences and data that we collected from the last investigation. But we keep an open mind that, you know, if they are intelligent, they can move as well. So we walk the building again, just as if we were, you know, only there for the first time.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you kind of look at each time as a fresh start, you know, because those of us who investigate know each time is different, and it
It
depends
absolutely is.
the date, the time, the way spirit wants to interact
Yeah.
with the people you have with you, the equipment
Yep.
you take, you know, weather, as you mentioned, everything is so varied and
Yeah.
different.
And
Do you
even the
have-
entities that you communicate with, like you could go
Absolutely.
into a location and encounter an entity that you've never encountered before.
Right.
For an example, St. Albans Sanatorium, we went the first time just as a preliminary investigation and a historical tour, a history tour. And it was in the daytime, and we experienced things that we had never experienced even at nighttime, which is a whole nother topic, but Keith knows just as well as I do, and I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to investigate at nighttime to get activity. So,
Right.
In fact,
but we, you know, that was a prime example for us, and that was an investigation that actually made my fiance a believer.
Mhm. That is a really, really impactful place. I've been
Absolutely.
there several times, and it does. I mean, this sounds, you know, kind of like I would maybe say about most places, but it does have an energy all its own.
It
I mean,
truly
that
does.
place itself really, really does.
It truly does, and it changes from room to room. The main area that I found to be the most compelling for us personally was the bowling room. We had a bowling ball roll about halfway down the lane at us, the completely level surface. It actually went over top of rubble from the you know, sediment from things falling off the ceiling and over the years, you know, just things getting dusty and building up. It actually rolled over a lot of things that were just collected there from years to,
Wow.
you know, years and years ago. So it was bizarre. We had the bowling ball roll. There was multiple shadows we saw behind the ball return. And we had, the first time we were there, we had a light anomaly about the size of a softball, just a little bit larger, come up out of where the baseboard would have been on the wall and went full circle around me. And it was so bright that my fiance thought I had shined a flashlight in her face. And I had two other witnesses there in the room to confirm that that's actually what I saw as well.
Wow.
see,
Wow.
I want to get to talk about that in a minute. I'm glad you mentioned that. But we got a question for you already, my friend. One of our buddies for the show, Steve Vinny Gunzo, asking, Ryan, what is your scariest moment?
So, scariest moment, one of the scariest, I would say, recently would have been at the Samuel Miller Mansion in Columbia, Pennsylvania. That was December of 2020. We were walking down the stairs, and fortunately, something told me, face a camera backwards while you're walking. I had two 4K cameras in my hand, and I'm walking with one facing behind me, one facing in front of me, and I had something run down the stairs at me, and I caught the audio of the footsteps on the stairs running at me. That was the most recent, most terrifying thing that happened to me, because you could physically feel the rush up on you. You could feel the presence right behind you.
Yeah, I've guested at many events at the Miller Mansion, and it is very intense at times, but it's also another place that each time you go, it's very, very different.
Absolutely. We captured a voice on our camera microphone in the workstation where they still do the printing. And we captured a voice responding to my fiance. She had asked a question, "Are you still working back here?" And it responded over the camera microphone and said, "Yep." And we didn't even enhance the audio. We were able to capture it. And I did add that to the video from the Samuel Miller Mansion. It's on our YouTube channel. And I enhanced the audio volume. I didn't edit anything, any frequencies or anything like that. I just enhanced the audio slightly so you could compare the two to kind of get a sense of what we look for compared to what you probably hear on like a TV channel where it's a little bit more prevalent in the video.
Sure. Yeah.
Another very cool
Oh,
question already. Our sweetheart of the show that we both love near and dear, our buddy, Robin Kell, who there's a whole story with some things there. So amazing. And Robin asks, have you had conversations with spirits in a back and forth conversation?
I have not. We have gotten direct responses through static sensors. We've gotten yes and no's through static sensors. That would probably be the best communication I think that we've had, to where I would say that it was probably the closest to having a legitimate conversation. We were asking questions with two separate motion static sensors set side by side, and we said, light this one up for yes, light that one up for no, and it was doing both on cue with the answers that we were already familiar with how they would respond.
and Ryan, where do you think, before I get to the next question in the chat, where do you think you've had the best interaction with spirit at the time that you've gone? Of course, because we all know it's different each time, as we said.
Right. So the best interaction that I would say that I've ever had was still where my parents live in Delaware. I grew up in a home in Seaford, Delaware, and as a musician, I would always be writing music. And I don't know if that's because I open myself up emotionally when I write music, but I always had amazing interactions as a early teen and into my kind of early grown-up days, I guess you would call it. It was it was an experience, and they still live there and they still experience things.
Wow. And they didn't give up on it. Like, they're okay with it and they interact with it.
Some of it was bizarre. I don't share a whole lot.
Sure.
I've only shared, I believe, twice publicly and maybe on one other podcast. We had it got to a point where we weren't sure what it was and what, the intentions that it had.
Yeah.
And it got a little scary at times. We had a minister come in and bless the house. We had things thrown through the room at us during the blessing with the minister there, with about 7 people in the room, and things slowed down and then they picked up again. And we're just very vocal still to this day. My parents still message me all the time and update me on what they see and hear. We've had pocket doors completely unlock and open by themselves, cabinet doors completely open by themselves, things like that.
Wow. And your parents are brave enough to still live there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good for them. I don't want to miss Steve's second question. He says, have the entities you've encountered ever been people you knew from your life?
Great question.
I believe that I've spoken to my grandfather a time or two. I truly do. I think that especially with family, I believe that they pick and choose when they want to communicate, and that they have the ability to kind of give signs no matter where you are. So I think even if you're at a location, if you're opening yourself up in ways that you're willing to communicate with things that are on the other side of the veil, I believe that the potential is almost endless.
I agree with you.
That's so cool. That's so very cool. I want to ask a question because there's starting to be some of this happen now in these times. And I'm saying this because I get people that talk to me about what's been happening, and I'm thinking, I think I know what this is related to, but somebody else says, Keith, this is happening. And then all this happens. Do you think that you have been somewhere where you think there's possibly a portal at a location, a doorway, an entrance?
I feel like St. Albans Sanatorium would probably be the closest. We did have a situation at the Samuel Miller Mansion recently where they had I don't want to bring up any names, but I believe that they had an issue with somebody practicing scrying, and they had believed that they had opened a portal, and we actually got more evidence in that room at that time, speaking of it being a portal, which for me personally, I'm a little skeptical. but I'm not quite sure how to label it, but I would say the best way to word it would be the closest thing that I've seen that would be considered a portal. But we had a lot of really good evidence that night, and specifically, like I said, when we were talking about was this a portal and things of that nature. So yeah, I would say Samuel Miller Mansion.
Wow, that's so interesting because
You have
yeah,
to come here and go with me to that.
It's
okay.
an incredible location.
Well,
It's one of a kind.
well, we're working on some things, Ryan, and I want to get you to get to be there when we do, and then Kelly as well. Another little catch up with some people that I'm seeing here. So one of my other dear friends that are on there, Brandon Johnson's on here. We also see, let's see, Kelly, who's some of the other ones
Oh, I
that
missed Brandon. Oh, there he is. Hi, Brandon.
and who else?
Hi to you.
Yeah.
Well, we have another question from Sean Daniel. He asks, "What is your go-to equipment?"
So I gotta give. I will say, Sean is my buddy, and if you guys really want to dig into like historical places and cemeteries, he is your guy. So make sure you're checking out Sean and following Sean as well, because
Sean Daniel.
He's doing some big things. It's people like Sean that are kind of in a lot of ways missed sometimes because of the things that they're doing. We have our ways that we investigate, and some people compare too much to others. I think Sean, his style of investigating is something to really look at when you're really wanting something different. He cares a lot about what he does.
Well, I guess we're friends, Sean. I'm not sure if we are, but if not, reach out to me. We'll talk. You know how we roll here on Talking Tech.
Sean, I think I've had this conversation with you before, but if we haven't, it's going to be my AVP recorder, and most of the time I pick my 4K camera with a good mic over the recorder because of how lucky and fortunate we've been with the captures over camera microphones. So I would say any kind of audio recording device would be my number one go-to.
So do you have, let me ask you a question, and if we don't, we got a second. Do you have your 4K camera with you?
I do. I can grab one if you could give me 2 seconds.
Go ahead and grab it. This is
okay.
This is what it's about. So, hey, folks, we wanted to reach out. We see you on there. We wanted me and Kelly say thank you so much. We love you guys. You're all near and dear to us. You're our friends, our posse, our family. And we just want to tell you. So, by the way,
we had a lot of shares of tonight's show. So thank you if you shared the show on your team page or group page or Facebook page. I am just so thankful that you were getting the word out there, because Ryan is awesome. So you should definitely share.
Brandon Elvis popped in real quick, so you know, Ryan. He said, hey, he loves you guys. He is talking about you because I said you're there, and he goes, oh yeah. So listen.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, listen. Brandon is probably one of, no doubt, all of us so close to Brandon, because he is the guy who so many of us, as Ryan knows, myself, I reach out to. I'm going to tell you right now, as far as a subject matter close to the highest you can get, will you not agree, Ryan, that he's one of the best? This guy goes to another wicked level of tech.
He truly does. His level of compassion and drive to push things to the next level and find actual reasons why things are happening is above things that we are seeing on this, level right now. We're really experiencing in the field.
And straight shooter kind of guy. You got to have love and respect for him, because what I have found is, he says, that's the thing, guys. We owe it to this field to do the most we can in due diligence. And if we're out there with the little blinkies and lighties and fluffies and everything else, then are we really doing this, or is this just for a Saturday night TV show?
Blinkies.
Blinkies, like, little lights. Little lights. Oh, look what it's doing. It's rolling on the floor. Guys, seriously.
I need like a cricket sound effect for my screen as I stare blankly when you talk about this 4K camera.
Well, well, so that's the thing. So again, that's why I talked to you guys about this is going to be a tech peeps kind of show. So let's rock it, Ryan. What do you got, buddy?
So this is one of
Oh!
3 cameras that I have.
Wow.
So this is just one of my rigs, but I like to kind of set them stationary. So what I've done with this one is, I've done this with several actually, is I've mounted external batteries that gives me about 12 hours. And I have an external IR light here made from Ghost Light, and then I have a standard just UV bright white light in case I need to illuminate something for us, working with equipment. The Takstar mic here is something that I think a lot of people should really take into consideration if you're looking for good audio on a budget. It's very comparable to Rode, in my opinion. I've found with a lot of testing and comparing with external camera microphones that this one here has kind of done the job for me, and it's easily, for me, for the price, the top notch for what you're looking for.
So what kind of camera was that again, Ryan?
So this is a 4K. It's built with Sony parts by Cleveland Paranormal. It's got a built-in IR. They run about 300 a piece. It films in full 4K, and the lens that I use is a macro. But the reason why I film with that is because you get a wider angle without losing quality. So I like to set. This is a company called Cleveland Paranormal.
Cleveland Paranormal. Okay,
yep.
I'll have to get with you about that.
Yeah, they build some amazing equipment. I preferably wanted to focus on the cameras, specifically because the parts that they were using. They built these out of Sony Handycams, and it's true 4K, and it's got the built-in one touch, one button IR switch on the back of it. So when you need it, it's there.
Okay, well then I'll have to be buying that tomorrow. So
okay.
and Bob Burnell gives me he's like, Keith, you are just off the chain, just like I gotta have it, and then I'm buying it. And it's like, what are you doing all the time? Yeah.
John's comment was too good not to post, so.
Yeah.
John.
I know. I get to doing that. Thomas Cardos is another guy, folks, who I'm trying. Thomas, what show are you a part of? I know he does something really cool on, I believe it's one of the YouTube or another one of the shows. But he's another one out there doing his stuff, really putting sweat equity in, doing what he does. And
I love seeing other investigators just giving it their all to kind of push the limits.
Every day he's swinging the bat. I mean, the kid's a good kid, and I give it. He's out there doing what he does, and kudos to him. So another one of our sweethearts, another Love and Light listener who we love dearly, is our friend Tracy Antoinette Smith. What do you consider to be the least useful piece of equipment on your investigation that people try to plug? That's a good spin. What's out there that's getting there? Oh, it's so amazing. And you're like, wow, wow, wow.
I would say for us personally, it's personally for us, and this is nothing against anybody that uses ITC. I stick with recorders a lot more than almost any other piece of equipment that we use, specifically because we've kind of refined the way that we ask our questions, and we've had amazing results doing so. And what I'm really getting to is with the spirit box, there's a lot of open interpretation, in my opinion. For me personally, I find that I trick my own mind a lot. I can hear one thing, and then when somebody else tells me that it says this, I immediately hear that as well. So I can't give a definitive answer as to what exactly they're trying to say sometimes. So I kind of get a lot of false positives with those. So we keep those put away. We do have one. We experimented with them because obviously as investigators, you got to keep an open mind. I'm not against ITC. I think that there are a lot of things in the field that should continue to be tested, because who knows what's the right way to do things. We are not professionals. There's no right or wrong way to do this. and we're only going to benefit by continuing to use both spectrums of and styles of investigating. So
Okay, so that's a good question because uh Bob brings up Bob Burnell, another folks, really I think one of the most intelligent guys out there. He will sit. I respect him dearly. I tell Kelly all the time. Very sharp, very got some amazing questions, and I'm like, Bob, I'm gonna have to get back with you on that. Super sharp guy, and I'm telling you, sharp guy. So, but he brought up something about SLS, and let's go there. Let's say, for the sake of it, we see it on TV a lot. All right, in SLS, Brandon talks a lot about it. That it's a gaming type setup for that. We see that. There's spectrums of it from a side that people say they've gotten things that are like, wow, that was amazing. And then we certainly get a side to where, you kind of what it's designed. Somewhere, what's your thoughts on it holistically as far as applied to the paranormal? Because I have a story after you're done I want to share with everybody.
Okay, so I've used them. I don't own one. I've used them. I do agree with Brandon's opinion on them. Obviously, I stay open-minded and give things a chance, whether somebody feels one way or another about the piece of equipment. I don't judge until I use them myself. And my personal opinion is, again, there's a lot of false positives. They're built for mapping characters in video games. So it's if you face it in a direction where you have a shape of something, it's going to map it, and you'll get the extremities as well. So I mean, you face a pole in the corner of the street, you're going to have arms and legs on a pole. So I don't judge people for using them. I just don't personally find it beneficial for us when we're trying to present our evidence to clients and to the paranormal field with what we have to offer.
So that's really cool because you bring up a good point about arms and everything else. I'm gonna share something with all of us, and then for the folks out there listening. So I had a situation because I was with SLS. I was like, but I had brought it because I call them tool in the toolbox, right?
Right.
Many things we bring, and I'm like,
yep.
You know what? I want to try this because I'm here.
Exactly.
So this girl had lost her dad about 2 weeks prior, suddenly. And we were at a big fire station. And there I was, where we were in a situation to where I was like, you know what? We had a huge open space in front of us with no obstructions. And everybody was behind me. So the camera was out straight in front of me. And I said, I tell you what. And I had an EVP over here, and then I turned on the spirit box. So I was like, I have the headsets, and I could turn down the spirit box as it goes, and then see if I get something with what I ask. And so I kind of did a little comparison back and forth.
Right.
I turned them down, and then I said, if you were just talking on the spirit box, I have a camera that can see in the dark.
Right.
And it's me. I'm right here. If you could see me out in front of me, if you come up, then on this big screen, we can see you. I'll be darned, knock me over the head and call me hamburger. Here comes a perfect, solid, humanoid type figure that was there. And it was standing there.
Wow.
And you could see a head. And then it was just looking like it was moving its head, and it wouldn't move. And then I said, okay, if that's you, and if you're her father,
right,
I'm telling you hello. Watch. Now, this is what this one did. He took his arm, he put it to his stomach, and he bent over and he bowed. She immediately burst out crying. And she's like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then her friend was holding her.
Yeah.
So we finished some communications, and then we asked a question. He answered. We asked a question. I asked hard questions that only he would know the answer to, and he answered them.
That's amazing.
And then I said, is there anything you want to tell your daughter? Because I understand you passed suddenly, and this may make you cry because I did. And he goes, I love you.
Wow.
And then I said, well, and all of us were crying then.
Yeah.
Firemen,
Understandably
people,
so.
everybody's
That's,
crying. And then I was like, well, thank you for coming. I just wanted to give your daughter a chance.
right.
And then you hear from him, thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. And then he bows again and he bends over and then he's there and then he's gone.
Wow.
Here's what's interesting. Watch this. The daughter says, that's what he did when he was alive. He bowed.
Oh my gosh.
When he introduced himself,
Yeah.
he would bow.
And see, when there's similarities like that, like when you can rule out the false positive, that's when I think that kind of evidence is extremely beneficial.
So that's when I said, I'm not totally throwing out SLS.
Right.
I get it. I'm not going to go out there and I'm the SLS god. All things paranormal come to SLS. I'm not saying that, folks. What I am saying is this. In its proper use, where you know that nobody's out in that sterile field, you know that you have something that tied to something that to what they tell you, then you can say, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I kind of say, well, let's see. So, and another one we had at Ohio State Reformatory, shadow figure, own my flare with the SLS. And it's in frame in the SLS.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. In the SLS, yes. And it's in my FLIR. And I had it and I'm filming it. And then he says, yes, I'm here. And we say, is that you in front of us?
Right.
And he says, he goes, I'm here. He says, yes, I'm here. Then he says, I'm here.
Wow.
And then we sit there and he's there. And then all of a sudden, this little one about halfway down here, and you see the arms holding, he's holding this child's hand.
Oh, wow.
And we ask, we say, we see a child, and he goes, my son.
Oh my gosh. So there was relevance to what you were seeing too.
But with a FLIR in the EVP. And
that's incredible.
Like, okay. Second, so I tell people with this, we get into, and Ryan's a astute guy. He's like, but, and we're saying this, if you happen to have those times, if you're at that place and you're the one out there investigating and you experience it, far be it for one of us to go, all things we know tech, and we will tell you it does not exist. That's no, sorry.
Right.
And anybody who does, shame
exactly
on you.
Exactly.
Now, there are things that you probably wouldn't do if you're doing a sterile environment to exclude and make them very proper, and you're doing like a research into like a photon events with that camera. I would not have the SLS there.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because then you're in an environment where all we're researching and documenting and getting evidence is for that camera.
Exactly.
If you're out there on something and you're having a fun time and you want to try that, certainly as well. So I haven't seen any more questions, but I want to ask you one.
Okay, well, there are some, so you go ahead and ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, with all the negativity in the world right now, what was the most loving message you ever heard? That is one. That's a good one.
Wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, that I've ever heard. That is a tough question. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever been asked anything like that before.
Way to go, Tracy. Way to go.
Yeah. I would say the best message, and it kind of, I kind of think about it in a different form of how it was spoken. My grandfather, before he passed, said, keep fishing. But I think I think he meant keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
Aw.
Courtney Peterson in the house. Our
Hey,
sweet.
Courtney.
Has there been a time in your paranormal journey where you thought of giving up? What changed your mind, though?
Honestly, my motivation and the reason why I've done this for so long is a lot of the reasons why I ever even considered that, which isn't very often. I have though. Was for more personal reasons. It wasn't anything that I'm dealing with in like the paranormal field or anything like that. It's, my true purpose for doing this was always to understand what I lived with growing up, and to better understand where my loved ones go when they're gone, where I'm going to go when I'm gone, things like that. I just have general questions based on the experiences that I've had that were very real growing up. Tons of nights with direct communication, with no pieces of equipment, really, just sitting in the room, asking for a tap on the wall or blow a candle out, which happened multiple times. I had an entity blow. I made a full circle with white candles one night while I was writing music because I would always interact with flames, and obviously it was one of the pieces of not a piece of equipment, but one of the things that was easily attainable when I was younger was candles. So I'd put candles in a circle and I'd write music, and it would blow all about 6 candles out at the same time.
Wow.
I tell you, Bob Burnell's got the super cool question, and I get it too. What type of software do you use for your EVPs, Ryan?
I use Studio One V4 Professional. It's software that's made by PreSonus. There's versions that are free that are very comparable to what I use. The reason for the professional version that I have are specifically for music recording, and for extracting video, audio, for enhancement when I have issues with low volume and things of that nature. So I truly have found that to be my favorite piece of editing equipment that or editing software that I've ever used is Studio One V4 by PreSonus.
See, that's some from what Bob's real good about that. He reaches out to me, and I may not have the answer for the moment, but I say, and folks, I will tell you, I really don't think that Ryan minds if you got a question for him even after this show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely open. Like I try to tell people all the time, like never feel pressured to, reach out to me. I don't care if the question sounds, a little funny in your head, or, to some people it might even sound a little dumb. Like there's no dumb question. We're all doing the same thing, whether you've been investigating for a month or 10 years, we're doing the same thing. We're going to locations and sitting in the dark and asking questions to things that sometimes aren't there. So, it's.
Am I crazy, or are they?
Yeah. So it's I'm very open to people. Inbox me, friend me. Add me on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. I'm on multiple platforms. So.
And Ryan, can you tell everybody too a little bit about your team? Like, how long have you had your team? And
so we were on a team for quite some time. I was kind of solo up until about 8 years ago, roughly, with what I did. My fiance and I have investigated for a very long time. We've been together for 14 years, and we've investigated off and on seriously for about 14 years, but we didn't really form any kind of team or, put ourselves out there publicly until about 5 years ago, roughly for me. But we were in a group called the Spirit Chasers, and I was the equipment tech and audio analysis, and she was an investigator. And we just kind of didn't meet eye to eye, and we're still very good friends. And about 2 years ago, we formed Beyond the Veil Paranormal. We sat down one night and we discussed kind of our ideas of how we wanted things to be and how we felt that it would best fit us and our perspectives and what we wanted to basically accomplish as far as our goals and in our research. So we formed Beyond the Veil about 2 years ago, and we've jumped in head first ever since. And we went public immediately with what we do, and I'm happy I did, because I mean, I've met a ton of amazing people that have been supportive and very open to discussing and comparing experiences, like just like I had growing up. Like, I thought I was crazy. I'm not even kidding. Like, I legit thought I was crazy. I had mental evaluations before I was 16 years old because of the things that I was seeing, and they're like, "You're not crazy. You're not crazy." And I mean, there were times where it was more than 5 people in the room seeing the exact same thing. It wasn't just, me seeing a shadow. It was my grandmother washing dishes and piles of change falling in the sink when there was no change on the counter. My cousins seeing people hiding behind trash cans when the only person home is my mom. We had shadow figures circle our tent with my brother and I sleeping in the living room because we were supposed to go camping, but it was raining. We had shadow figures walk from behind a pool at my grandmother's house from the woods all the way up to the bedroom window and was watching us sleep. We had shadow figures walk out of the closet and exit the room. It's so many situations that I haven't shared that and I hadn't shared until I went public. And that's what I think I'm most grateful for, is just the people that I've met that have been, so genuinely interested in what I have to say and willingly sharing their stories. And, it's just been amazing, to be completely honest.
And you really find your paranormal family.
Yeah, exactly.
By sharing and kind of bonding over those similar experiences.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's what kind of really drove me to where we are now, and drove my fiance to where we are now, is she kind of stays out of the spotlight. She has her personal reasons for why she does this as well. And she jumps on a podcast every now and then when I talk her into it. But she just likes going to the location and trying to get answers, which we all do. But I mean, she, like I said earlier, she was a skeptic until we did an investigation at St. Albans. She had somebody physically grab her, and we had to leave.
Yeah.
Now that's when I spoke to someone actually this morning about that, but that's going to be for something coming up. That something amazing. That's another very cool show. I want to get into something I want to kind of ask you about right now. I think we went over some very good questions, and we're going to get to the one with Tracy's. But let's talk a little bit about light anomalies, because I see some things on here, and there's certainly a topic of conversation in the paranormal that has the hot seat. So many people discredit types of light anomalies, and they can go in the figure of obviously orbs, ectoplasms, these winglet, these type of little, almost look like fairies, or these
elementals.
Yeah, like so. I mean, there is a laundry list of all these things, and they are amazing. I will tell you now. Of course, one of the first things that people do is they get into this lens flare, bugs, dust. But here's one of the things I found. People who also send me things that get communication from the light anomaly as it's in the room or passing by. Like, here I come. And it goes by, and you're like, where are you? I don't, they're looking to see this apparition.
Right.
And then you ask, like, how are you showing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they respond, balls of light.
Right.
Well, what else is a ball of light in the paranormal?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no such thing as orbs.
Yep.
Look, we're gonna have that fight until the end of time.
Absolutely. You know, that's like with rock. It's like, who do you like better, Metallica or Megadeth? It's the same thing. And Keith, I know you know exactly what I mean.
Now, nobody can touch Rush, though. I will tell you, there's no one like Rush.
Right.
Alex Lifeson and Getty, and God rest his soul, Neil Peart.
Absolutely.
As far as my drums, but now we'll tell you that they get so much hate. What's your thoughts about just in some what you've captured, documented at scenes with light anomalies, experiences, pros, thoughts?
I'd say based on what we've experienced and physically captured, we've captured quite a bit of very strange anomalies. We actually caught one on we have a 4-channel DVR system that films in 4K. And we were at the cabin on 360 in Mechanicsville, Virginia earlier this year. And I ran the 4-channel DVR in the murder house where the little girl was said to still be. And we had a camera in the basement, and they said that there was a negative entity that stayed in the basement because they did a blessing on the child's room to keep it out of there. It would bother her. And we were in the child's room, and I had an EVP recorder running. I captured it. This is in the video as well. We were asking if she was still in there. Is the blessing that he put on the room still working? And he asked that question in her room, and she responded with yes through an EVP. And shortly after that, later in the night, after it's just us at the location, we were in, I believe, the very back bedroom, which we didn't really capture a whole lot. We got a scream in the hallway that we captured. But around the same time as the scream, we captured a mist-like anomaly on the DVR in the basement, exiting the basement window, and it was roughly the size of like a basketball or larger, exiting the window, and it's very wispy-like. And we tried to debunk that. The reason why we concluded that as being truly paranormal is there is no window on the front of the house through the brick where the basement is. There's no window. If there was a window, there's a large ductwork that runs from each end of the house to the other. There was a light anomaly that traveled shortly before the mist-like anomaly exits the window, traveled from one end of the house all the way to the other, and came down off of the ductwork and went back up the bricks on the fire chimney and back onto the ductwork. And then you see the mist-like anomaly exit the rear window. But in that same room, we captured not just that, we captured a light shaft that kind of resembled a lens flare, but we couldn't replicate anything like it because it's more of a shaft and it's real bright. Like if somebody were to flash or like flick a lighter without lighting it, it was like that, but it's underneath of the only chair that's in the room, which was super bizarre in our opinion. We got a light anomaly that illuminated the room in Melissa's room. It illuminated the room, but what was bizarre, I actually talked to Brandon Alvis about this and went over several different angles to prove that there was no window where light would come in. The only thing that we could determine that it could be, which I'm still skeptical of that being the solid answer, would be a lens flare, because the reason why I'm ruling that out personally is we captured that same anomaly on 3 different cameras at 3 different times. When it flashes and the room illuminates, it doesn't just go away, it slowly fades away like it leaves an imprint in the middle of the room.
Okay, that's what I was going to say right there. Interestingly enough, Ghost Hunters had a moment on one of the shows. I think it was out in Illinois or one of those freezing places during the dead of winter. And it was Daryl and I think Mustafa downstairs.
With the FLIR.
Well, upstairs they were looking up to the building. And so they looked, and upstairs on the second floor flashed blue real quick.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like pop. And they go, what the? So they run up there and there's nothing there.
Yep.
So I've had that happen on an investigation while we were in the living room in a bedroom. Now it was dark, all the lights were off, all the shades were shut, no way
Right.
for light to get in. And from out of the closet, we get this big flash of like airplane landing lights, like flash.
Right.
And that's when I said portal in the closet. And
Yep.
then we asked, did you just come through the closet? Are you here? Did you come
Right.
through there? And it says we did. Not
Wow.
I did, but we did.
Wow. So
I
multiple. Oh my God.
That's when I think it's that pow, that opening
Yeah.
from our world to theirs.
Exactly.
I talked to Brandon about that, and he's like, Keith, it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I mean,
Absolutely.
they weren't able to see what it was. It
Yeah.
was like, we don't know. We don't have the answer. We looked, we checked, we went
Right.
around. That we're out in the middle of nowhere, and that's when Brandon and them saw the captain up on the very top of that building that was in this little scarecrow area, or this top.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And then they saw him walking, and then he went down, and it was like maybe he came through that and then went to the top.
Right.
It was just a very, very cool thing.
That's amazing.
Tracy asked another very cool question. How do you determine with your equipment what an orb actually is?
So we typically try to rule it out before we even try to determine what it is, really, if that makes sense. It's kind of redundant when I say it that way. But we go in as it's not paranormal, as most investigators do. Typically, it is dust or a bug or a lens flare. It depends on what the camera, where the camera is, and if it's being held or sitting stationary, how we go about trying to debunk it first. So most of the time with our cameras, unless we are walking to another room, we don't walk with our cameras. We like to set them stationary where you could kind of get a good view of the entire room without, affecting any other equipment. So like if we're setting the EDI up, we don't want to set the camera next to it and then get false positives. So we like to set it in an area where we know we're not going to be affecting anything. And if we get any kind of anomalies, it's going to be easily ruled out or proven that it's paranormal, because you can see if we're moving or if there's something that's casting a reflection, you'll see it on the camera. So most of the time for us, it has been dust or a bug. For an example, we had a bug, which is super bizarre. I've never seen a flight pattern like this before. It came out of a room and went immediately left. Like, I mean, hard left. It was like if you took like a paper airplane and threw it, and then somebody had a fishing line and snatched it into the next room as soon as they exited a room. It was that fast. I was like, oh my God, what was that? So like I got all excited. And I'm like trying to zoom in. I'm like, that's not a bug. They don't move like that. And we ended up ruling it out as a bug. You could see when you slowed it down, we did, I think it was -8 speed or -16 speed that we did. And we zoomed in a little bit. You could literally see the flickers of the wings when it went left, or it would have been left leaving the room. But it was a bug. And, things like that. You really got to be patient when you look at these anomalies like that, because you could find something incredible, or you could trick yourself into believing that it's paranormal.
Yeah, for sure. Thomas asked if you recommend EMF detectors.
I do. I absolutely love any kind of EMF detector that you can get your hands on, as long as you have something to compare with. For an example, and what I mean is some EMF detectors are poorly shielded, so they will be easily triggered. So if you have two different EMF detectors, find the one that won't trigger when you're closest to any kind of electrical source. That way you will get less false. Exactly, like Keith with the EDI plus meter there. That has been one of the best tools that we have purchased. The K2's a great tool. They are less shielded. So I would say, like, especially with Keith, he knows as well, do some comparisons with how
Exactly.
they read things really. So if you're in a room with poorly shielded wiring and you're getting a high reading on the K2, test it with the EDI or another EMF detector if you have that available. So
be careful with your phone in this. And you're
absolutely.
like,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
look, I'm getting
Yeah.
pictures. It's going off.
Right.
It's,
Right.
oh
Yeah.
my God, we
Yeah.
got one.
We had for an example, we had an issue with and Kelly, I don't know if you've been down in the basement, in the dirt floor basement where the Underground Railroad tunnel is sealed at Samuel Miller Mansion.
Yeah.
There's exposed wiring underneath of the first floor.
Yes.
When you're in the basement looking up back by that tunnel, there is exposed wiring. We were getting readings close to 45 milligauss and higher, and it was literally making my fiance feel dizzy. And we're like, why are we getting these readings? We're in pitch black. We're not looking up. We're like, where's a dirt floor? There's nothing here.
Right.
So we turn lights on our cameras and we start examining the room as opposed to just concluding that as paranormal. And we found that it was the wiring. And we tested with a Merturk EMF. We tested with a Mel meter, and we tested with the EDI, and every single one we got a different reading on.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's something too where for those who are a little bit newer to the investigation sort of side of things, it's really important to know how to work your equipment, not only when the light's on, but also when it's off.
Absolutely.
And what's triggering your equipment or what can possibly trigger your equipment. So I think a lot of people, and I appreciate all your comments on equipment, because I think a lot of people who dive into the field get really excited by the equipment. And that's not me. I wish I was my energy just breaks equipment, then I have to buy it. But I just, I think those who do go out and gravitate toward the tech side, get more new equipment, you have to know and understand those things, and not only that, but then know how to review the evidence you've received from there.
Exactly.
So that you can validate things that happened or correlate things. So it really isn't just a short-term thing where, okay, I have this device, I'm going to go out and have this cool experience.
Yep.
But and I'm glad that's part of it. But the other part then is making those connections. And I hope that your knowledge of this equipment has inspired, people in the chat who are kind of newer to understand, it's not just about going and purchasing this piece of equipment, because it can detect many other things. It's not just for, spirit activity. It's for many other things.
Absolutely.
Electrical equipment and things like that. So, you have to really know how to operate your equipment and then review from it. So I appreciate your tech comments, because
I truly appreciate it being asked. I don't get to really discuss that very much, and it's something that it really is misunderstood sometimes. It's you see people on a TV show running around with a cool techie piece of equipment, and they're getting good results. I mean, obviously, if you're not well informed, you're going to grab what you see them using.
Right.
And there's options out there that may be cheaper that will benefit you more, because not every piece of equipment is the same. And one thing that I recommend that people do is, just like you said, understanding your equipment. When you get them, you don't really even have to be on an investigation to understand your equipment or learn your equipment. Just turn them on and walk your house. Like with the EMF detectors, just turn them on and get a basic understanding of doing base readings. Like if you want to practice, just take a notepad and measure the EMF next to the heater running, and note that, and then measure it when it's off to get a comparison for how things fluctuate on a very regular basis in your own home. To really realize and understand how hard it is going into a location that you don't know very well, and doing the things that you were doing in your home that you know very well. So compare the two. It can be a little complicated sometimes. So I highly encourage people to really learn what they're holding.
Absolutely.
One of the things about these pieces of equipment, they're only as good as the operator is intelligent. Now, let me tell you what that means is this. These things have rubber coatings around them, so they come off. And I'm going to show that for you. So they come off. So that comes out. They also have a little thing on the back where the batteries go. Okay. Inside is where the batteries go. I have mine numbered because I have lots and lots and lots of EDIs. I bought a case the other day. So anyway, yeah. I buy them because I use them in every spot where I have cameras and a recorder and also my little let me get them for you real quick.
Toy room there. His toy.
Yeah, that's like me with my audio recorders. I have cases.
So it's a toy room of upwards of 6 figures worth of equipment now. every one of those spaces have a zoom on it that is hooked up through our central system. And one of the things I mean by that is this: don't leave your batteries in the device, because here's why. All it takes is I have Pelican cases. If they're in your cases and it touches that button, they're going to be turned on and it will fry this unit and burn it up. And then you'll open it and go, oh, crap. I'm telling you this from experience. Take the batteries out when you travel. When you get to a location, put them in, because these units are very sensitive. Inside here is a whole bunch of very important stuff that makes all of this work. And so just remember to do that.
Folks, just for a brief aside, he's talking to you like he would explain it to me. So that's because now, Kelly, take the batteries out. I don't touch it because I'll put it
right. These are very
the batteries
common.
out, and then you put it away. I've heard this tone of voice before, buddy.
Remember on the paranormal shows when everybody walked around with these and they're oh, we're getting a reading. Look, and the camera zoomed in, and this was the only thing they had. Well, I will tell you, I would rather these be used than dowsing rod, but that's a whole nother story. Me and dowsing rods are not friends. But I will tell you,
I am not. I have had very confusing results with those, and I'll tell you the only reason why I even had them was to find a basically pipe underground. And we were walking, and when they cross, you dig because there's water. We found pipes doing that at one point at my parents' house in Delaware. But my fiance, she's had some interesting results with dowsing rods. But what we do is when we're using equipment like that, when obviously there can be false positives with any piece of equipment, we pair equipment to add more validity to the answers that we're getting. So I recommend that people that are using manual equipment like that, pair them with something.
Right.
If you have the option to do so, I highly recommend that. It just adds to the credibility of your evidence that you're collecting.
Yeah, that's what I say is the point of having a sensitive along on.
Absolutely.
Because your sensitive can validate your equipment, which can validate the tech stuff. So that, I think, that's something for me that going along. I mean, I love to see what I'm seeing.
Right. Absolutely.
I say turning the camera around and showing me what I'm seeing. So
right.
That's very validating for the sensitive, but it's also very validating for those who are more drawn to the tech side. And that's
I completely agree.
And grows.
I completely agree.
Who's got the dowsing rods? Don't tell them maybe with what you're getting with your equipment.
Right.
Because then that plays again in that mind thing. Are you
right?
Really?
Exactly.
So am I. So, and I've said this before, but I'm going to make a funny, but you'll get it. Dowsing rods and sitting here going, so is there a spirit here? Okay, yes. Are you sitting? Okay, yes. Are you in the room? Are you yes?
Right.
Are you sitting right there? Yes.
Right.
Are you over here? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you here? And then are you? Look.
Right.
I have kudos to people that want to.
Well, Keith, I didn't get to tell you about this. I don't know if you're also friends, and Ryan, I don't know if you're also friends with Dr. Don Molnar. And he is a doctor by day and a paranormal investigator by night. A dear friend of mine, and he posts something on Instagram not long ago where which is what I hoped someone would suggest, because no one had listened to me about it yet. So I'm glad somebody listened to him. But, he attached dowsing rods to stationary equipment in front of the camera and took it completely out of it.
Right.
And to me, that was so important, because that's what I was saying. And, in my sensitive toolkit of things, I personally don't use dowsing rods simply because I'm naturally pretty blind as far as the energy. Also, I don't hold Keith's equipment. But, I don't really use them. However, that's something I believe in with a lot of those simple things like pendulums and things like that. Take the person's energy completely out of it and see what happens. So, pairing them and finding that correlation between, what's happening with those simple experiments, those simple even pieces of equipment, to the IT stuff, and, seeing what the correlation is and how it goes and what you can document. And I think that's really compelling. So
I truly agree with you. I really think that's an amazing idea, setting manual equipment stationary to rule out the false positives. It's as long as you can prove that there wasn't any kind of like wind flow or any kind of vibration to cause that, especially when they're facing on an angle to where they really are, there's going to be resistance. They're using force to move. So I think that's an amazing way to do it. We had a situation where we wanted to use coloring pages and things like that were really just something that was relevant to what they would remember. And we used pictures of trains, and we used I think it was colored pencils and marbles. And we put a bunch of toys like that and pages of pictures down on the floor. And we set extremely too much equipment down at one time, but we wanted to, because we wanted to compare the responses that we would get. And we had one camera sitting directly in front of this pile of stuff. I think it was 3 different kinds of EMF detectors. We had cat balls. We had, you name it. It was like a pile of equipment. It was hilarious. And then, out of all things, I put a deer camera, a motion activated deer camera with full night vision and audio in the corner. And we got a hit on the EDI that literally lit up the geophone, the humidity, the temperature, the EMF, everything. It was like a freaking Christmas tree when it went off.
I had that happen in Corpus Christi.
Well, check this out. It got worse. My camera microphone exploded. Not the microphone itself, the battery in it busted.
Wow.
A brand new battery. I put it when we got there. The 2 batteries in the EDI busted. The EMF detector that the other investigator was using beside the EDI completely died. All of these instantly, and we caught it on camera. And it was multiple pieces of equipment. It was either the battery or the equipment itself completely failed when that thing went off.
Wow.
Now, see, that's amazing.
Wow.
Stuff
Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. Do you have anything coming up, Ryan? Do you have any, public events coming up, or
Ryan Seymour in concert? Why they last?
And if not, can you tell people one more time how to find you in case you do, so they can see what's coming up?
So we do have a couple of things in the works. We do plan to go back to Samuel Miller Mansion. We've just had some issues with holiday schedules and birthdays and things like that. Normal day to life, everyday things have been kind of stopping us. But we're planning that very soon. We kind of wanted to plan it either late, almost the end of December, or early January. I still got to reach out to Amy again. I've been talking with Bonnie quite a bit as well. We have a location that we've been keeping our eye on. It's on the C&O Canal, which is very, underrated. It's hardly ever talked about. It's in Maryland. There are several lock houses that are on the C&O Canal with reports of hauntings, and there's the Paw Paw Tunnel. We're going to be doing an investigation at that as well, and then we have another location that has never been investigated publicly. It's a local B&B in Federalsburg, Maryland, and we spoke to the owner of it, and they say that there's a lady in white that housekeeping keeps having troubles with. So we plan to do that as well.
Hey, I got a very cool question from my buddy, Mr. Mike Catching Sr.
Oh, he got his question in just in time. Before
I tell you, but from Mike, we're doing this because Mike's my buddy. Mike's another awesome investigator. My friend, his beautiful wife down in Galveston. They own a late 1800s or early 1900s Galveston on the Strand, the site of the big hurricane. So we'll talk about that another time.
Wow.
I want to have them on the show because, God, the stuff they have. But here's this question. Hey, Ryan, what's your opinion on the Panasonic DR60? Do you have one? And maybe do you want one?
I haven't used one. I've heard mixed reviews on them. That's the really thin square one. If I'm not mistaken, it's silver most of the time. I believe it is. It's if it is the one that I'm thinking of, I've heard mixed reviews. I use a DR05, and I've had incredible results. It's a linear recording device, and it's, in my opinion, probably one of the best audio recording equipment pieces that I've ever purchased. I think I would definitely try it out, though, to answer your question. Anything audio, I absolutely love it.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing one. There's a couple here.
Yeah,
I believe they're kind of thin, they're square, and they're silver most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I don't know what it looks like, but I appreciate your very valid description.
I just looked them up. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, for getting your question in time too.
And remember, folks, so here's one of the great things about our guest tonight. Not only did we get to go and ask him so many very cool questions, but this guy you can reach out to. Mm-hmm. Things that you're like somewhere and you're like, I really want to kind of ask him about his thoughts. This is the kind of guy that will say, you know what? Here's my thoughts. I've used it. I haven't, but I'll tell you what, let me find out and I'll get back with you. You don't find very many salt of the earth people who are out there who are good-hearted, caring, want to help other people kind of guys. The other ones, I'm famous and you're not. Here's a guy who's like, he's going to help you. So reach out to him. He's a wealth of knowledge, super nice guy.
You said people can reach you on Facebook, Ryan?
Yeah. So if you want to get in contact with us, you can message me directly on my personal Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request, inbox me at any time. I always try to get back to people as soon as possible. And no question is a dumb question. I don't care if you've been investigating for 2 hours or 2 years, whatever. I'm always here to help. But you can find us at Beyond the Veil Paranormal on Facebook. My personal Instagram, I share a lot of content on there as well. And then we recently created a TikTok account for short videos of just basic evidence. And we'll be sharing to that more often as well, too.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yes.
We are so thankful that you come on, Ryan. It was such a pleasure.
No, thank you so much. I have had a great time. I'm grateful that I got to spend time with you. Yes. I really appreciate everyone who's watching. I appreciate all of the questions. It's been enlightening and refreshing to be able to do something and talk about things that I'm so passionate about. Uh-huh. And like I said earlier, you guys give me a voice, and conversations like this are truly needed in the field. So.
Oh man,
absolutely.
Look at all the people that just showed the love. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan, you're amazing. Ryan, what a great guy. Hey, and there you go, folks. We told you we were going to do it. We did it. Yet another rock star, literally rock star of the paranormal. Look at his guitars in the background.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, folks, let's give it up for our boy, Ryan. Woo! In the house.
Thank you, Ryan.
So,
Thank you, guys.
Time to hang back in the green room for just a minute.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to do that. We're going to close her out, and we're going to be right with you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Oh, he's so fun. I'm so glad.
I told everybody, I was telling Kelly, I said, I got nothing but love and respect for Ryan. I watched him and followed him and seen his stuff, and I was like, what a great guy.
I know. We've been buddies, and then this is the first I got to talk to him. So he was super fun.
There you go. Flip's in the house. Great show. Some others. Hey, great show. Thomas, we're going to be talking to you as well soon.
Before we say goodnight.
Guess what? Kelly, take us out.
We have something. I don't know if I can now. We have something very special for the next show. So tomorrow,
everybody.
Tomorrow on Facebook, there'll be more details. I may even pop on for a live video because it's easier for me to talk than type it all out, to be honest with you. But it's also more exciting because our next show in 2 weeks, we would like to have those with extreme paranormal encounters come on to tell their story on our show. We're going to keep your stories fairly short, about 4 to 6 minutes, to see if we can get as many people on as we can. But we're going to do part 1 of these extreme paranormal stories coming up in 2 weeks. And if you have a story that you experience yourself personally and you would like to share, please send our page a private message about it. Please do not comment on this video or another, like on the YouTube channel for the show tonight, because we don't always see that right away. So send us a private message on Facebook on our Talk and Tech Paranormal page, and we'd love to know about your story. And then we're going to try to get as many people on as we can in 2 weeks to kind of share a really extreme paranormal experience roundtable. So if you're interested, make sure to send us a message about that.
So that's the cool thing about this show coming up, folks, is you get to reach out to us. We're going to get to talk with you, visit with you, and then go over your stuff before we get you to the show, and you go basically through the stuff you've had happen. So when you are that person, then reach out to us. Because we want to get you, on the show.
Yes, and we'd like to hear as many stories as we can in the time that we have. So we want to try to keep it, of course, concise to get as many guests on as possible. However, we do want to hear the most extreme story that you've experienced yourself. And we do ask that it's your own personal experience, whether it's through investigating or whether it's through an experience you've had, maybe even before you investigated or things like that. But we would love to hear. It can be about any area of the paranormal. It doesn't have to be ghostly related. It can be any area of the paranormal. So if you have a story like that and you want to share with us in 2 weeks, send us a private message about your story on our Talk and Tech Paranormal page, please, and thank you. And I'll probably get on Facebook tomorrow to just reiterate that. On
2 already, Kelly. That's I know one with Robin and then Thomas. So then the others, we're going to put it out there. But we want to say one last thing, even last of the last thing before we go. So this week is the week of Thanksgiving. We want to say, please, not only think of your family, but also reach out there to maybe someone who, if you're having some beautiful event at your home and you know that they might be by themselves, invite that person to come and be with you in your home and have a beautiful, beautiful event. As long as there's someone that you feel as if you would feel comfortable doing that, we ask that.
Or just, if you're apart by distance, just send a random message to somebody and let them know why you're thankful for them. Like somebody in the paranormal family, just kind of reach out to them. Could be somebody you really, in fact, it should probably be someone you haven't really talked to for a long time. So just reach out and kind of just say thanks for being them and what you're thankful for about them, because it really is going to make somebody's holiday for sure.
And that's how
I am going to mail Keith some homemade Chex Mix that I made.
Yes.
So
I found sucker on the phone today. It's a little things in life.
A holiday delivery. That's right.
Santa came early, folks.
That's right. Thank
We
you for
thank you so
coming
much
on
for being on the show
tonight,
tonight,
joining us.
hanging out with us, letting us laugh, letting us have fun, having you being a part of this because you do help make this show. Without you, there would be no show. So thank you many times over. So
Yeah.
much love, so much light. We
And
love
we
you.
will see you in 2 weeks. So
2
send us a
weeks.
message if you want to come on.
Bang!